If you follow me and you still don't know what project management is, this video is for sure made for you. Hello and welcome again. My name is William Maller, and today I would like to make a brief reflection about what is project management. What is a project? Why do you need to manage projects? And what exactly is the definition behind that? So you can understand that very clearly. As you know, I have a very interesting newsletter for those who are trying to understand more about project management, to start in this world, to build their careers around it, or for those who are already working as project managers and they are trying to be better, to improve their skills, to understand what's going on in the world, how artificial intelligence is going to change their professional, how tools, techniques are evolving over the time. And this newsletter is called Project Management Compass. And this week I published this post with a beginner's guide of project manager, project management overview or project management basics. How do you understand what project management is? Because even though I've been publishing about project management for many years, I still get some questions in my inbox if I could do something more basic. Okay, do you explain, please, what exactly you mean by a project? What is that? So today I'd like to bring some important definitions here and share with you, right? So the first, I think it's the most important or the core definition is to understand what is a project, okay? And according to PMI, a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. So let's pay attention on two words here, okay? Temporary and unique. A project, by definition, has always a start date and an end date. So there is always a moment, and it should be, that you have your project, your idea being transformed into something real, and you close the project. Okay? If you don't have an end date, it is not a project. Maybe it's operations, maybe your normal run thing or run task for your daily things, but not a project. Okay? If you repeat the same thing over time, over a week, over a day, it's also not a project. And the other word that I think is important is unique. As I said, a project is always aiming to transform an idea, something that is intended, into something tangible, into something real. And you cannot have both that are the same. Otherwise, you also have something more connected to operations. Let's think about cars, for example. The project to launch a new car model, a car model update, that is a project because you have something unique that you never had before. You have a specific end date that you are going to launch that to the market, and therefore you are going to have that started. You work over time, over years maybe, and you release that to the market. And also it goes to production and start building new cars every single day. That is not a project anymore. You are building exactly the same car. So this is now part of your operations. And this is the most important difference that is important to understand the definition of a project, okay? Temporary and unique. So I think this is the core thing you must understand if you want to start in the project management world. That is having very clear in your mind what a project is and what a project is not. Okay, so what is the physics behind a project, or how it operates? Well, basically, you have different kind of setups that will make your project, like the people involved, the scope, the time you have to deliver. And in project management, we have something that is called for many years the triple constraint, or the arrow triangle. Three items, imagine like in a triangle, literally, that they go around with very important things that can move your project, make it bigger, make it smaller, and of course change the time it will be delivered, change how much it will cost. And it's basically scope, schedule, and cost. So scope is what needs to be done. The schedule, it's how much time you have to deliver. So it's going to be a 1 year project, a 1 month project, a 5 years project. And then you have, of course, the cost, how much money you have to deliver this project, to deliver this scope. So you have a new airport being built in your city. You have a project for that. You have a budget that you need to follow. You have a specific scope for that airport project. And you have, of course, a specific date, a schedule that you must comply. By the way, a curiosity, many people don't know, but the expression iron triangle, that comes actually from politics in the USA. It's basically from the American political scene, it's a triangle, and I can share the link further in the comments for you. That it was the loop between the Congress and the senators and everyone who is involved in the approve a new law, and how rich this bureaucracy is for Americans. And then they call this the Iron Triangle. I think it's quite an old theme or old topic in that scene. And then project management use that, since we also have this triangle. If you change something in the cost, or if you go over cost, it can affect, of course, a schedule can affect your scope, and the same one change in one of those items will affect the others. That's how basically we have the physics around project management. And then you have, of course, a life cycle, right? You have the initiation of the project, where you're brainstorming, you're understanding, you're organizing what will be done, or the why. And then you have the planning moment, where you're building or organizing how basically you're going to structure your work to deliver what is needed. And then you have the execution part, where you actually implement what was planned. You have a monitor and control part, where you check that what was planned is actually what is being delivered. And then you have a closing moment, where you check that the benefits were actually achieved. Of course, of course, it's not like that. You don't do it in a simple sequence like that. It's always more like a cycle. And of course, that's why, by the way, we have the different life cycles of projects, because these different phases that I mentioned, or the life cycle, the map for project management, it's basically not applicable to everything in a sequence. So imagine you are launching a software product, and a software is quite complex. You cannot, spend a lot of time planning the perfect product and launch that to your customer 1 year later, because their needs to be validated. And in this complex world, by the way, we can talk more about how to organize complicated using a framework called kinetic. Okay, close the parenthesis. Um, so once you understand that you have a complex project like a software, you need to validate, you need to iterate, and that's why we have different methodologies and different life cycles. We have one that is the most traditional one. It's called like the waterfall, and it's very common because it became very common in the recent days with PMI methodologies, where you have the philosophy of measure twice and cut on. So you have a good structure that will make you move forward. And I cannot think in any other methodology that is the best for so many different cases, like building a new construction work, to build a car, as I mentioned, to deliver a new airport. But then you have, of course, life cycles that are more adaptive. So you have more shorter cycles, where you validate things faster. You have, planning, and on Monday, and maybe by Friday you already have your deliverable, or your validation, and then you can go to another cycle and you validate a little bit more. You iterate to make sure that you are building the right thing, and that is the agile road, where you basically inspect and adapt your work much faster. Okay, both are very important. As a project manager, you need to understand and be good on both, because they are just different ways of solving different kind of problems. And if you try to use agile to everything, you are going to fail, because you're probably going to use agile on the wrong things. If you're using waterfall to everything, you're also probably going to fail, because this is different. The problem to be solved will drive your tool selection, your method selection. And I'm very happy to see how much the Project Management Institute is involved on this, to make sure that we understand more on the different perspectives to which tool or which framework is the best to be used. And of course, the more you learn, the more you get used to different kinds of problem-solving methods, the better you are for the market, and also the better you are yourself solving different kind of problems on your daily basis. If you need to build I don't know, a house in a yard with your kids, that is a project, and you know better how to organize your schedule, your cost, your all the things around their project, your restrictions, to make sure that you deliver that to with your kids on time. So it's a great life skill that everyone should at least know a little bit more. All right, so understanding what is project and have this idea that project management is the activity that will move things forward. I think it's quite easy from the basics, but complex if people don't understand really what is needed, where and why. So I hope this video helped you to clarify in a with a very beginner's touch, so you can move forward in the content I've been creating and navigate better on this. But of course, I'm preparing more videos to move you further or move you to the next chapters and introduce you better to project management. And if you're thinking on that to your career, if you're transitioning your career to project management, or maybe if you're starting right now, I want to guide you with the tips and tricks that can get you walking and running faster. Okay, but there is one more element that I would like to mention, that is leadership. The more technical project management you learn, how to control the cost, how to control the schedule, the tools that you can use to make sure that the right thing is being delivered, those things are very important, of course. But projects are always about people. The people who are requesting, the people who are going to use your end product, the people who are delivering the product, the people who are working with you to manage the product. So it's all, as always, about people. And leadership, I would say, is the key element for good project management. You need to provide clarity. You need to provide a good chaos control for your project. And you need to also make sure that people can work together, can be a team to deliver what is needed. And also make sure that the people who are going to use your project, they are involved, they are part of what is being built. So when you go to the end, you are not disconnected from what was requested from the beginning. So it's all about people, and as always, all about leadership. So this is the key element that you need to have in this final reflection if you want to understand how complex project management is and how you can navigate on this topic better. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you to understand a little bit better on this topic. And if you enjoyed, please subscribe. Make sure you're connected to the content I'm creating here on YouTube, but also on all my other channels that are in the description of the video. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.